Will China invade Taiwan?
After the war in Ukraine started, the situation has been getting more and more tense around China and Taiwan. Is China going to finally attack Taiwan?
I feel like China has been like teasing the Taiwan DLC for their country for the past, like, what has it been, 50 years or something. It's basically like, you know, Bethesda teasing Elder Scrolls fucking 6. We've been waiting, but it's never gonna fucking happen, okay? It's like basically when you bought GTA 5 and you're like, GTA 6 is gonna come out in like 3 years, right? But then it just never comes fucking out. Like, man, I've been waiting for something to fucking happen. Like, I don't want it to happen, right? But like, it's when you're talking so much shit for so long, but nothing happens. China devs failing to take Taiwan DLC. Exactly, man. We've been waiting for that DLC forever.
And follow up on its one China principle which says that there is only one China and Taiwan is part of that one China, only but a rebellious island to be reunited with the mainland China. It has always been in the interest of the Communist Party of China to reunite Taiwan with the mainland. They have talked about it since the Kuomintang fled to Taiwan in 1949. The chairman, Xi...
I always felt like it was such a fucking cop-out of like the Chinese government, like the whole thing with like the war and stuff like that. You know, like when the communists and the nationalists, I guess, were fighting. Basically all the communists did were like guerrilla fighting at the start, right? So the nationalists took like heavy amounts of losses and shit like that. And while the nationalists were like fighting off the fucking Japanese, well, the communists were also fighting, but not as much as the nationalists. So pretty much they weren't like. Nationalists have pretty much like just expended so much of themselves on like fighting the Japanese that the communists were just kind of like, well, we've been building us up instead and like not really taking a lot of losses here, so we're gonna kill you now. Wait, did you not help us basically at all? Well, no, but you did it, and now we're gonna kill you, right? Pretty much fucking dumb fuckery. It's basically like you're playing a co-op game, and then your teammate is sitting at the couch, and then you have to beat two bosses while you're supposed to be a 2v2 bosses.
Xi Jinping right now has made it his personal goal to reunite Taiwan with China. Tensions were at an all-time high when Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, being the highest United States official to visit Taiwan in 20 years. At the time of Nancy Pelosi's visit, the PLA or People's Liberation Army of mainland China conducted these huge, unprecedented military drills, leading many people to believe that invasion is just around the corner. But if you look at interviews with Taiwanese people, they are really used to this kind of stuff. They're used to their
It's like, have you ever met like a guy that lives like in a really bad neighborhood, right? And then there's people start fighting and shit like that, and everybody goes out to watch it and stuff like that. Like there's a fight in the schoolyard or something, but then this kid is just kind of like doesn't care about it, and then this shit is just like a normal thing that happens on an everyday basis. Like at some point you really don't give much of a fuck whenever they say something, unless the sirens go off and like. It's like now people are saying like, oh shit, it's now? Like now? And people are like now. Then you kind of like, okay, real shit. But yeah, if you get a gun pointed to your head basically once every single week, you don't really give a fuck. Detroit people be like, yeah, exactly. Like you don't really give a fuck at one point, man.
Communist neighbor always flexing, always threatening them, intimidating. They have adapted to live like that. You cannot live in fear, so they have adapted not to feel the fear anymore. They're used to it. And if you are used to it, you cannot be intimidated by it. The Chinese Communist Party is taking the One China principle incredibly serious. Any country or company even who is undermining the One China principle, for example, opening Taiwanese embassy on their soil, inviting Taiwanese officials to their country, this company or country is immediately under Chinese boycott. They immediately get a response from China. This recently happened to Lithuania. I am from Estonia, then we have Latvia, and Lithuania is the third Baltic brother. They're worlds away from each other, but they had this back and forth because Lithuania had something to say about the independence of Taiwan.
I always feel like if your country is pretty much just like forcing its way across the world, right, you're gonna make some enemies. And if you're like, you can't talk about this, you can't do this, a lot of countries are just, it's kind of like having a relationship scale, right? Like, let's say like everybody's allied and needs to have a positive relation. If you get in the minus, you kind of lose that. And I just feel like China has just been like doing fucked up shit all the goddamn time. So the relation of the world has just gone like down. And there's also like a modifier called cope, like copium. And a lot of countries are also still fucking doing that, man. It's just genuinely like really, really fucking dumb shit. Am I still playing that? Oh yeah, I'll change that in a second. But I just feel like most countries are just like completely still on fucking copium, and it's just something is really missing. Like a big country taking stance. Like nobody gives a fuck about Lithuania. I have to be honest, nobody gives a fuck about Lithuania. But like if it was the U.S., Germany, France, Russia, or like some big country, right, that was kind of like, no, fuck you, China, that would mean something, right? But if your economy doesn't really have an influence of the world, nobody gives a fuck. It's kind of like Czechoslovakia, no, not Czechoslovakia, right? But Czech Republic being like, hey, yo, fuck China. And Germany's looking at them. They have like 1/10 of their economy, and Germany just looks back and like, okay, and then just like forgets all about it, right? It's like looking up, and Germany takes off its hat, which is Denmark, and Denmark is like, oh, we should take a stance on China, and Germany's just kind of like, okay, cool, and just doesn't give a fuck, right? And then that's most of the time what countries that are big do, because they don't give a fuck. And Germany, like, all right, our overlords. Like, yeah, because, like, you know, when you have to look at something in Europe, right, you have to say it kind of like this. If Germany and France doesn't give a fuck about it, there's nothing you can do. Because, like, the EU is pretty much propped up by mainly Germany and then France, right? That's what it is. So there isn't really a way you can really make a big change unless you force the big countries in Europe to make a change. Like, there isn't really much you can do.
China will react to these kind of things. In this video I want to go into reasons why China, mainland China, cannot invade Taiwan. I will bring out 4 reasons for you and explain them. My name is Artur Rehi. I'll bring you news from Ukraine and news from all over the world. So if you like...
I have to say I really like his accent. Like, I don't know, like his Ukrainian accent sounds like really fucking good. I was about to say it was Russian, but again, it sounds the exact same in my fucking mind. Like, I know I probably offended like 15 Russians and 15 Ukrainians there, but... it sounds the same in my mind.
My channel, my videos, subscribe to my channel.
Oh yeah, it was Estonian. Sorry, bro. Sorry, fuck. Okay, so I guess Estonian sounds exactly like Russian accent.
And become a Patreon. Links in the description below. The first reason why China cannot invade Taiwan is semiconductors. Some call it the new oil of the digital age. Taiwan is the world's largest...
If you had invested in semiconductors, day one, you would be a rich motherfucker right now. A massively rich motherfucker. These things are pretty much like one of the most important things in society right now. Like, it's what everybody invests in. It's what everybody needs them. Like, it's used for so many fucking different things, these semiconductors, that even on an A4 page you couldn't fill it out. From weapons to computer systems to fucking everything needs these semiconductors. And Taiwan is a massive fucking exporter and a massive like producer of them. And if you had invested in it, like, oh my fucking god, you'd be rich right now. Literally, you can see the Estonian flag everywhere on his channel, and then he said like 2 of those half minutes Estonian. Yeah, but I forgot he was from Estonia, because like Estonia used to be owned by Denmark, and then I just forgot everything else about Estonia. Now I'm memeing, okay? But like I forgot. FrizoYT moment, I can't fucking help it, man. It's not my fault.
Producer of semiconductors and microchips. TSMC, or Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, is the world's largest and most advanced chip maker. Taiwan, a single country, has over 50% of world's market share of semiconductors, including chips made for Apple products. You possibly have a phone in your pocket right now that has Taiwanese parts in it. If China would attack Taiwan...
I always feel it's kind of cool, right? You can have a shirt where the cotton came from Turkey, was then made into cloth in India. No, actually cloth in India, and then it was like made into a shirt in China, and then sold in America. And I feel like that's so fucking cool. Like how you can have such a connected world. I feel like that's so fucking cool. Taiwan is Asian, Czech Republic, bruh. I don't know about that one, but maybe.
And they would possibly blockade the island. That would cause substantial interruptions in the global supply chain. The world is already suffering from the shortage of microchips. We all know about the drama in the car industry. The cars are getting more expensive because microchips are getting more expensive. Video cards, laptops, computers, refrigerators, medical equipment, and not to mention...
Yeah, it's wild, right? Everything needs a fucking, like, microchips and shit like that these days. Like, what the fuck happened to just have a normal fridge that just make the shit cold? Now you need the thing to be able to play music, be connected to fucking Bluetooth, and need a Wi-Fi fucking connection. Like, what the fuck happened, man? We make tanks, they make chips, goddamn.
Mention most modern military technology. All of these things need constant supply of microchips, most of which come from Taiwan. And this is not mentioning the COVID pandemic, which slowed down the production of microchips, already disrupting the global supply chain. If we're talking about the invasion of Taiwan, this would only further exacerbate the issue. And China, like other countries, relies heavily on microchips produced in Taiwan. So the CCP would have to think twice before doing anything that might damage Taiwan's manufacturing capacity, because they would...
So it's basically like if they kill Taiwan right now, it's basically like shooting your own technological advance in the foot. You know? Fuck China. Like, imagine I couldn't go out and buy a TV that had a built-in pocket pussy with fucking semen collection tray and an AI built in to make noises. That's not a world I want to live in. I don't want Taiwan to die. This is why we need to use ye old timey surgical equipment, bro. No, it's like shooting yourself in the legs and arms and also stopping. But like it's in the brain that would be considered like the microchip though. I just feel like it would just set us back so much, right? Like the scientific sects of most of our society just wouldn't have what it needed to like keep going, and also like stuff like creating new products, creating new technology, and just science in general will just like go back maybe even years from not having what they need to like do all these things.
Suffer from it too. And China, mainland China, actually produces only 5% of the global share of microchips. So they do need Taiwanese chips. If China were to invade Taiwan, I think they would do it in a time when they are more self-sufficient about the production of microchips. As of now, they're fully dependent.
So probably let's say like 20%, maybe 20% market share. You could probably say like that's probably it. You could probably need that. Because that means you would have like enough for yourself and also to export. Then you say would do imperialistic invasion of China to take part of its island. Like imagine if the US invades China, wins, and then takes Hong Kong and makes it like the 51st state or some shit. Like imagine that shit. That could be fucking lit, dude.
Dependent on Taiwanese chips, therefore making the invasion very unlikely. There is a list of world countries, most powerful countries in the world, who are very dependent on Taiwanese microchips and would have something to say about China taking these chips away from them, so they would be immediately dragged into this conflict. The CCP knows this very well. The second reason why China cannot invade...
It's basically like let's say you have like a little village, right? There's this farmer. He produces all the food in the village. And everybody likes him, everybody needs him, and everybody needs that fucking food and trades with this guy, right? And then somebody comes over and then like shoots him in the head, and then says like, this is my field now, but then stops the production of food, and then everybody's gonna get mad at you because like no, there's no more food. Like what the fuck are they gonna do? Like it seems kind of dumb. They should do negation cities like in a Kaiser. Yes, they should do that, man.
Taiwan right now is Chinese economic and property crisis. China has seen massive, unbelievably massive growth in the last decades, going from being a simple agricultural society into a industrial juggernaut rivaling United States. But recently, Chinese growth shrank for the very first time in 28 years. The CCP has taken an incredibly harsh approach to the COVID pandemic. They are trying to suffocate it. City with millions of people might only have...
Oh yeah, man. I always feel like... Have you guys... Like, whenever I'm on TikTok, it's rare I ever see anything on TikTok about China because it's usually being censored. You know, it's a Chinese app. But I feel like most every single time like I see something like this, I always feel like it just shows something like really fucking bad, like people literally being locked into their fucking houses, people that are not allowed to leave, like these like bullshit apps they have to have on their phone, and they're just being monitored 24/7. Like, when was the last time you like heard something about China that was genuinely just like a win? When was the last W I from China? Like, I don't even know when the last time like China had a W on a world scale. Like, I genuinely don't even think I can think about one. Yo, Ricefield motherfuckers! Oh my god, does your city have 3 COVID cases? Close the entire city, let the starve until those 3 COVID. Yeah, exactly. Like, imagine just being like, you know what, man, let my people starve. Fuck them bitches. And also like the floods that were in China as well, like it's not looking good when they tried to best Japan from invading them and try to beat Japan from invading them in World War II. I just feel like I just feel like right now it's the wrong people that are in power in most places. And in some places you have 0 chance of ever changing it. Like in America, you at least like your vote still counts. It's just really like you're just not never sure that it's actually gonna happen, the guy you vote for. Starvation never hurt anybody, right? Yeah. Well, you know, I think Mao Zedong, the people in Mao Zedong's China back then, they have something else to say, and Stalin's Soviet Union.
Have a few hundred cases, and the CCP will put that city in a lockdown. They will shut the entire city down until these cases are gone.
It's so dumb.
That means they also shut the production down. The CCP's incredibly harsh reaction to the COVID pandemic is the contributor to China's slow growth. But COVID is not the only issue in China's economical situation. China's property market is on the verge of collapse. China's economic output is very heavily tilted to the property sector. It covers 1/3 of the entire economic output.
If you think that prices in Denmark, like housing prices in Denmark, are bad, in Czechia, Slovakia, Germany, France, you don't even know what the fuck's happening in goddamn China, man. Like, holy shit, like China, Hong Kong, all of those of course, if you live out in the fucking boonies of China, of course not that fucking bad, right? But in most cases, those prices are complete and utter fucking dog dick. It's complete fucking bullshit. Like, I watched so many videos about like China's like housing prices. Again, I did a survey on like I did like my big project in high school was writing about Hong Kong and like Hong Kong and stuff like that. And I did also like talk about like the economy and like how much like this like Chinese invasion of like how they do things have also hurt the economy and stuff like that, and like how the housing prices also had an effect, how it also had an effect on that. And it's just like mad how much like China just can't get that shit under control. And China has a home and a flat with 100%. Everybody has a job and shift eyes. Listen, everybody in China is happy. Nobody in China is unhappy. And if you say something else, off to the concentration camps.
We've all heard about Evergrande, the biggest Chinese real estate company. They have already missed their foreign debt payments. I mean, last year Evergrande defaulted on 300 billion USD worth of debt. And there's a real risk that other companies may follow suit. Real estate amounts up to 2/3 of personal wealth in China. And China is very unique because home buyers and investors will pay in advance for unfinished projects. They will give the money to the real estate company, and the real estate company gives them the promises that they will finish the project they just paid for. But it's a Ponzi scheme. The real estate company actually uses that money they just received to open up new projects to sell them out before they finish them. But if they stop finding new clients, if the money stops coming into the system, the entire pyramid collapses. And this is what we're seeing right now.
I feel like I also see a lot of videos about like, have you guys seen like those videos of Chinese like buildings stuff like that, where people are just like breaking things off? Old apartments are just like falling apart. All this stuff that isn't even maintained, and what is maintained is just complete utter garbage. Like, there's so many videos online of that. Like, I saw like a guy that was like pretty, like, again, he spoke Chinese. Like, I've heard about, again, I had a Chinese in fucking high school, right? And this like Chinese guy went over to a on top of him there was like, it's kind of like a bridge, massive, hole, people drive under it. And then he went over to the side of it where it was like this like fucking cement wall, and then he held it, and then he just like cracked a fucking part of the cement out, and then he just like slowly crushed it in his hands, and then it just like showed up that it's like, this is where the fucking trains drive over this like completely dog shit goddamn construction. And it's mad, and that's apparently like a lot of like what Chinese that have been built is just made of. You had Chinese like language, or Chinese guy like tourism. I had a person that's been from China to China like a lot of times. She was Danish, right? But she's been to China a lot of times. And usually she would we would also like always talk about like how China actually is. She would never like sugarcoat it, but when we were talking about like, but can you say these things in China? She would be kind of like, no, just don't. And it's just kind of like, okay, I get it, right? So she knew that it wasn't exactly the best thing. She still loves China and the people and stuff like that, but it's just the government that's just fucking up. But yeah, I had the language, and we also learned a ton of about China. So she was not Chinese. She was she was Danish, but she spoke fluent Chinese. And in my assignment, like the last assignment, which again was Chinese and English put together, like the Hong Kong one, I had a genuine Chinese person as my as like the guy that like evaluates it, and then like my English teacher, and then a Chinese citizen, like a Chinese teacher that teaches Chinese in Denmark, like a Chinese individual. He was like a massive shill. Like I cannot see it in anything other way. Like this guy was 100% like on the fucking CCP's goddamn payroll. Cause my fucking god, this guy, man, holy shit, this guy was a goddamn narc. Like I can tell a story about that another time, but like goddamn, man, if this guy. It wouldn't surprise me that this guy like had his fucking parents like held hostage at home by the fucking CCP or some shit. Like this guy was shill.
A lot of unfinished projects which have been paid for by the investors or the home buyers already. Due to COVID, mismanagement and corruption, a lot of big real estate companies have failed to meet their obligations, leaving major development projects unfinished.
But also shows, again, if you guys have like seen in a lot of places, even in Europe, and that's a place that hasn't like hit as bad as in China right now with the housing shit. Most places in Denmark and stuff like that, like there isn't affordable housing anywhere. But like imagine if it was as fucked as it is in China. How many people that just have money but just can't afford a place, or just can't even find a place because they just keep fucking the housing market up. That would suck so much, like never even having an opportunity to move out. Like, goddamn.
Short terms, they have failed to finish the apartment you paid for. You're not gonna get your money back.
Oh yeah, you can do that as well in Denmark. Like a lot of apartments, you can then like go to the place where they're gonna build it, and then you have an app, and then you can like hold up the app and then see where everything is gonna be in the house. Like they have this everywhere. Like this is in Denmark as well.
Back, and you're not gonna get the apartment. That's the situation in China right now with real estate.
I don't understand why you would buy something that doesn't exist yet. It's the same type of people that like bought into like NFTs that hadn't even come out yet. They like bought something that hasn't been made yet, and then when they got it, it just fell in price completely, and then they lost all their money, or the project just completely fell through. Or they just rock pulled it and like just didn't give you any money or like any product at all, and then it just turned out into nothing.
Estate.
It's like never buy anything you can't have your hands on.
Boycotts, forcing the CCP to step in and pick up the financial burden. The collapse of China's property market would be catastrophic for its economy. Furthermore, because of China's observance of the decades-long one-child policy, a lot of soldiers in the People's Liberation Army are a single child. Male children have always been favored in China because they carry on the family name. Going to war with this army filled with single children risks a lot of families losing their bloodline and family name. Another issue with this is the aging population. The younger
like it's kind of like, let's say you had like 16 children, right? If you lose 8 of them, you still have half of them, right? Like it's not that bad. Come on. Like I'm memeing though. I'm fucking memeing, right? But like I have to say that it still would hurt a lot for a family to not only lose like one child but more, but it also would, I think it also hurts like a lot since like they have one, like it's like the little one, perfect little being that they made together, and this individual is not fucking dead because he was in the fucking army and has to go to war. Like entire families would like completely collapse into depression. If I get 16 children, I'm selling over half of them. Yeah, you probably should. Just like wait until they're 18 years old and then sell the organs and shit like that. Just wait for that, man. It's going to be a lot of money.
China, who are supposed to support the elderly population, they are numerically much fewer because they were born of the time of the one-child policy in China, and these single children have to support the numerically larger group of elderly people. Although reuniting Taiwan with the mainland China is CCP's political priority, they are very much unlikely to use lethal force to do so. They would pay for it with their economic prosperity. After all, it is the economic prosperity and the increase in personal wealth that the average Chinese citizen accepts in exchange for losing some of their personal freedoms to an authoritarian regime. It's like this silent.
I always feel like if you live in an authoritarian regime, like, you need to get some fucking perks, right? Like, if I'm supposed to like just say like I don't care about anything, our domestic shit, you take care of that. I want perks. I want to actually feel like I'm gaining something from not having any political power at all. I always feel like it's so dumb how you can just how the Chinese people are just like giving over their own like voting rights, their own power and shit like that, and just be like, I know it's being taken from them, right? But they can just take it back, man. Like, if 50% of the population if over the majority of the population doesn't want something, they can make a change. Because that means that a lot of those people, like those 50%, is also in the army, and it's probably also in the cabinet, and it's also here. Like, usually you'll see these like people that are not happy about something, just like going along with something until like people are like, your friend is being like, this is bullshit, and you're kind of like, yeah, this is bullshit, and then another guy's like, yeah, this is bullshit, and then something starts happening. Just get the military on your side. That's all you need.
The Chinese people place their trust in the CCP and
imagine trying to get one piece of land so international maps change by something that you can't even see until you look at the Asian map, and still it's just a line saying Taiwan. Yeah. Like, I feel like it wouldn't even be called China. It would just be like still called like Taiwan, I guess. Like Taiwan Island. Like, in most places it's just Taiwan. Like, like, I know they call it like Taipei as well. Like, the Chinese call it Chinese Taipei, but like, I don't think it's gonna change that much.
Expect the CCP to solve any crisis, continue the growth of their personal wealth, and maintain the status of the nation as a major player in the world stage. Reason number 3 why China cannot invade Taiwan. External threats. China is a bad boy. They have maritime and territorial disputes with 16 different countries.
That's a lot.
The Philippines, India, Indonesia, Vietnam, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, Singapore, Brunei, Nepal, Bhutan, Laos, Malaysia, Mongolia, Myanmar, and Tibet. Ooh, that was a mouthful. Every country that border.
That's a lot. Like, don't even give me fucking started, right? But that's a fucking lot. If you can't even get along, and Russia, yeah, if you can't even get along with every single one of your neighbors, like, come on, man. That just seems like you don't know how to fucking use diplomacy. Like, Denmark and Canada with like the Hans Island, right? It was so easy to fix it. Denmark and Canada was just kind of like, is there oil up there? No. Gas? No. So we just split it? Let's just split it. Done. Nothing more. Just make a deal with it. Like, what the fuck? Like, everything doesn't have to be hard power. Like, learn soft power, man. Like, what the fuck?
China, they have border disputes with. Any move on Taiwan would cause alarm amongst these nations and result in military buildup along the Chinese border. Japan is viewing the defense of Taiwan as integral to its own domestic and international security. Japan,
yeah, because they could then station missiles in Taiwan, which again would be very close to the southern part of you know, Japan, which again, having missiles the closer to an enemy is gonna be amazing for a country, right? Because the closer they are, the less time your enemy has to prepare to shoot the missiles down or intercept them in any sense of the word. Is there anything? No. Okay, I want it all just to know for sure, man. It's oh, my throat. I just feel like it's not that hard being diplomatic. Like, have you ever like played a roleplay game in Hearts of Iron or EU4 or something, and then you decide to like split something or like just make compromises on resources or something like that? Like, if you play a video game, you can usually do that. They should just do that in real life, man. Like, okay, let me tell you, like, one time we played EU4 with Mr. Commanders. Mr. fucking Commanders, the goddamn dumbass. I was trying to fucking form the fucking Roman Empire as you know, like, as formed Italy, and then I wanted to form Rome, and then this fucking dumbass decided, I'm Mongolian, so I want Crimea, so fuck you, so you can't take that, and then we ended up in a massive fucking war, cause the dude didn't want to give me the fucking Crimea. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, it's just, it's like the whole mental gymnastics of just, like, not giving up on something. Like, god damn, dude. God damn. Yeah, and Mr. Comenis is the type of motherfucker that's kind of like, oh, what do I gain? Well, you can just take some of go further and take Germany, Denmark, and Sweden, Finland, all that. No, I need this. And did he need it for focus? No, he just wanted it. Oh. So Commander is the real world leader. He's literally fucking Xi Jinping some of the time, man.
And is definitely likely to get directly involved in the conflict. Not to mention the other allied non-Asian nations like USA, UK, Australia. Taking into consideration all of these factors, it is very unlikely China would take such a risk not knowing which nations would come to Taiwan's aid. And after seeing the world's reaction to Russia after the invasion...
I feel like what country would help Taiwan? I feel Australia would... America, Japan, 100% Japan. I don't know if... probably not South Korea, they're probably very neutral. I feel like Philippines and Indonesia are pretty critical about like China as well. So I think they would probably also join. Who more? Failing to remember the name of Australian Prime Minister. Would help cause of interest. I don't think Russia would, because like China is one of the only countries that China is one of the only countries that Russia can have a realistic relationship with that can be beneficial. Because like other countries, it's just like a puppet state they can kick around. I don't think that it would be happen. Enemy of an enemy is still an enemy. Just peace for now. Well, you know. We do believe in a society, but I don't think like helping China, which again is the only country that can really stand out to America, helping to destroy that country is your only way of like going up against America is like a bad idea in my opinion. So I don't think it's gonna happen. But I think most countries would probably join. But I don't think like most EU countries would not join, since it would be an offensive war, then America would join. Like America has no reason to join that. Like Europe has no reason to join that war, so I don't think it's gonna happen. But I think there are some countries that would join just on the basis of like, yeah, we're gonna help America.
Of Ukraine, China has some idea of what might be coming after the invasion, and it doesn't look good. Reason number 4 why it is incredibly difficult for China to invade Taiwan is Taiwan's natural defenses.
Oh yeah, the mountains of Taiwan is like, I think they're like faced towards China or something, so they're incredibly hard to beat. And even if they landed, there would be like mountains that stationed artillery. You could even see that on like Iwo Jima and stuff like that, like where the Japanese had like stationed artillery in the mountains. So that it was just incredibly destructive to any army that would try to land, and they would know that these ships are coming, so they would have like, let's say like, because again there are spies everywhere, right? So the Taiwanese would know that maybe like a week before, maybe like 5 days, 2 weeks even. So they would have reinforced the entire beaches of everywhere, and then make sure that they'd make this like landing hard as fuck. America would say defensive war against imperialism while claiming half of China as their own. Imagine, dude. But like I feel like Tibet and like Outer Mongolia and like a lot of like the country of China should just be split apart. It's barely even Chinese at all. Taiwan also has those tunnels and airfields, hidden fields in the mountains. Yeah, that's true. So like I feel like it would be fucking hard to beat this shit, dude.
Invasion, weather and terrain are critical factors.
And the stockpile of ammunition and artillery and helicopters and all that shit they have is also incredibly enormous. So it would be so hard. Like they wouldn't need to be resupplied for a good while. And America would have to, like, again, America's going to break through. They have the largest navy in the world, right? They're going to get through no matter what. So when they reach there and can be able to resupply, like, they can hold for probably like 2 months, maybe even more. Like, it's going to be wild, man.
And Taiwan's natural environment is perhaps its best defense. The coastline is incredibly rough and rigid. Very often there are incredibly strong
just do a hoi thing, nuke it all your soldiers can still go through. It's fine, right? They just nuke it all until like the divisions on the island just die, and then you can land. It's amazing, dude. Hoi 4 never lies, of course not. Hoi 4 is the only way you can ever measure a war. Definitely no cap, no cap. 100%. That's not a lie. Hoi 4 is like, again, in World War II. That's how Hitler decided to do it. He fought it on a Hearts of Iron simulated battlefield, and that's also why like they decided to make Hearts of Iron, because they found it in the Hitler's bunker.
And rains, very strong tides, all of these things are definitely a significant deterrent to the would-be invader. The west coast of Taiwan is made out of these huge mud flats that spread 2 to 5 miles out to the sea.
Imagine fucking mines and that shit, dude.
Taiwan is made out of these huge...
How the fuck are you gonna clean up mines if they're all in all this shit? Spikes, all that shit could be fucking dug down here. That would be fucking wild, man.
Mud flats that spread.
And just like, if people are on foot or anything like that, they would just be like walk really slowly, and they'd just be bombed to the fuck. Like walking this like slow ass water, there's nowhere to defend yourself. Like you're gonna die, man. Every country in World War II used 27 with infantry and artillery expeditions. Yeah, that's true. It's amazing, dude. That's why again we like the meta was defined by World War II. Literally, like. Genghis Mimicus just went like and looked at Hitler's template and then just went like, this template is based. Destroy the islands of the world. It's just not worth it to take Taiwan. That's it. There's nothing more to it.
2 to 5 miles out to the sea. If a landing force would get stuck in that mud, Taiwanese artillery would make short work of them. The tides rise and drop considerably, and low tides expose these huge wide areas of mud, which are almost impossible to traverse. This leaves very few suitable landing spots available for the invaders, and the Taiwanese army is well aware of these spots, and these spots are heavily fortified, heavily defended. They would be kill boxes. The Taiwanese Strait is about 100 miles wide, and it would take up to 10 hours to transit. Transport ships and boats crossing the Taiwanese Strait would be sitting ducks to...
I do agree. I think that's true what you're saying here. Every map would have to change. Every map in the world that we've been using for so many years now would have to change. And I almost feel like that's probably like the biggest fucking fuck up in all this, is the fact like we would have to change so many things. Also, like prices of like old phones you have and stuff like that would also skyrocket, like with the semiconductors as well. But yeah, I do feel like the maps would be fucking annoying, man. Like having to like need a new map. But I just feel like most maps would just like stay and never recognize that China owns Taiwan. I don't think they would never ever recognize it. Like America wouldn't. And again, if nobody recognizes you have land, then technically you don't have it. Yugoslavia hates maps. I think Balkan people hate maps in general, because it doesn't show their country owning all the land. That's genuinely how it is. There's so many besides like Slovenia and Croatia, which settle all its like land disputes. Besides them, but every other country in the Balkans just like, no, I should own that land. No, I should own that land. This is just fucking Balkans.
Taiwanese artillery and anti-ship missiles. Moreover, these are very stormy seas, and Taiwan has 2 typhoon seasons. This limits the possible time of the invasion to only 2 times per year when the conditions are favorable. And any troops that would make this treacherous crossing would be incredibly seasick and more worried about not puking all over the place than actual fighting. And after that, they would have to subdue a mountainous nation of 24 million people who are ready to defend their democratic values and freedom. And we have not even talked about the fact that Taiwan has modern weaponry. Taiwan possesses the latest high-tech weaponry there is in the world. Their military is not a pushover. Xi Jinping has a lot on his plate, trying to push down these protests, maintain this zero-COVID policy, fix the Chinese economy.
I think if Taiwan's Air Force actually, goes on the offensive, they'll lose completely. I think China probably has so many planes that they will never win. But if they actually use them correctly, like just like keeps them for defensive purposes, they could 100% shoot down so many of the Chinese planes. The issue is just like I'm expecting China to be able to like produce so many of them as well. It's just waiting for an entire year to send supplies into Taiwan. Well, yeah. Yeah, even if you land, like let's say China lands, so much of that supply would have to be flown in instead of actually, sailed in. And having that much of a fleet just like used on just flying in supplies and stuff like that instead of men and shit, which usually would be supplied via boats. Like it's running supplied via boats, because most of the land is, it's a coast, like it's an island, right? So it would just be like genuinely like just impossible, and they would probably have to take a lot of risk with supplying by actually doing it in the typhoon seasons if they even manage to actually get there.
Economical situation with the property sector, it is incredibly unlikely that he would commence an invasion over 100 miles of incredibly stormy seas. The scale of the attack would be much more complex and dangerous than the D-Day and would require a lot more soldiers. All this together and the unpredictability of war would be a recipe for disaster for the CCP. They would not risk such an endeavor before getting their house in order. And that's a mess. While the cost of success would be limited, Taiwan's infrastructure and semiconductor industry would be ruined entirely. China's international relationships, trade agreements in...
Yeah, I do feel like that, right? Because again, they would probably... to basically lower the morale of the Taiwanese people, they would probably do what Russia did, again, like destroy like stuff like the infrastructure, civilian infrastructure specifically, civilian homes, factories and stuff like that can be hidden in cities and stuff like that. So I feel like most of that shit would be lost. It's like Taiwan right now is like a small economic power, and by invading and destroying this, they will pretty much lose anything that makes it valuable. China will build a railway into Taiwan. I will show them typhoon. I'm gonna do a little bit of trolling. Yeah, imagine, dude. Because I think that even these like typhoons, I'm pretty sure that's also the typhoons that killed fucking, you know, the Mongolians that tried to land 2 times in Japan. Like both typhoons that did that. First, so it's just a few nukes hitting a small island, SMH. But yeah, I do feel like they would have to use nukes to actually like kill the Taiwanese. But again, that also removes any any value that the island could have.
Investment opportunities would all be devastated. After witnessing the unified Western response to Russia after they invaded Ukraine, the CCP is well aware of the consequences of the invasion or even a blockade. For the time being, China will continue intimidating and pressuring Taiwan. For them, the best course of action would be to try to reunite Taiwan with mainland China through peaceful means. What the CCP fails to understand is the more pressure they put on Taiwan, the more Taiwanese people want to fight back and defend their way of life and democratic freedoms. Although an invasion is incredibly unlikely, the Russo-Ukrainian war shows us that anything is possible. Few people believe that Russia would actually invade Ukraine, and few people believe that Ukraine would actually be able to defend themselves.
Oh yeah, I gotta be honest, I did not think Ukraine would even like last the goddamn fuck. I did not expect them to even last. But yeah, again, with what we've seen lately, I think an invasion of Taiwan is not out of the question. I genuinely don't think it is. The difference is just that Taiwan is kind of like an American protectorate, where Ukraine was just completely on their own. Like nobody works. Where like Ukraine isn't in NATO. There isn't in any alliance, right? The difference is that America right now is just kind of like they're supporting Taiwan, like Ukraine right now. But if they had to support 2 wars, I think that would like split their focus a lot, and would probably leave Ukraine to the fates, where most of the Europe would have to like pick up the slack from America.
Must show a united front against China and not give in to Chinese unreasonable demands. And moreover, they must continue supporting Taiwan. Taiwan, like
every decision, general and historian said, yeah, Ukraine is gonna die in 3 days. Synchronize your Ukrainian death watches. Yeah, pretty much. Ukraine I expected that. Everybody expected that.
My friends, this was my video about the possibility of invasion.